After many years, I decided to return to creating the Dungeon Siege Remaster. You can now observe the development progress. I decided to improve or replace the main textures if they can't be enhanced. Alongside this, I added several shaders that significantly improved the game's graphics, bringing them roughly up to the level of Dungeon Siege 3. I also plan to replace the 3D models of the main characters in the game, as they do not meet the visual standards of modern games. This is a very challenging task that requires specific knowledge, skills, and a lot of free time for the development of the remaster. That's why you can support the development of the remaster by becoming a sponsor of the channel. For this purpose, I've created a separate sponsorship tier to support the channel and the development of the remaster. Remaster projects are usually handled by large companies with a significant number of employees. But as you can see, I'm working on the remaster entirely on my own, and I really hope for your support, because this is a very complex and challenging task. The remaster will be available to everyone who wishes to play it, but all channel sponsors will receive it first. I also plan to include all remaster sponsors in the game's credits. Additionally, I'm considering adding a special in-game location dedicated to the sponsors, but this is still in the planning stage and will depend on certain circumstances. If you have any suggestions, comments, recommendations, or interesting ideas, I would be very grateful to see them in the comments under this video. I'm open to constructive dialogue, feedback, and creative ideas or proposals. Apart from Irulan, other locations and cities have also been improved, but they are not yet ready for a full demonstration. I recommend subscribing to my channel so you don't miss upcoming announcements and the progress of the remaster development. In the meantime, to give you a better understanding of the remaster's development, I'd like to present the action plan. It is possible to port this game to Unreal Engine 5, but I will not do that. It's a huge amount of work. I don't intend to spend my whole life on this game. However, there are some difficulties in the development. The main issue is the Broken World expansion. Unfortunately, the game developers did not provide full modding tools for the expansion. As a result, I am unable to edit or modify the locations of the expansion. I know how to solve this problem, but it's a very large and lengthy task. Everything will depend on how interested people are in my remaster. This is a 2005 game. One might think that it doesn't support modern graphical technologies, but that's not the case. I've analyzed the game on a technical level and discovered some very interesting things. For just the water material, the game has 4 shaders. It also supports normal maps, other shaders, and technologies. Imagine that all of this was in place back in 2005. However, it turns out that 70% of these technologies were not fully utilized in the game. I think the developers of the game didn't want to overload players' personal computers with these technologies. In other words, the game had a lot of technical potential for further development and modding by the fan community. However, very unfortunate things happened. The game stopped being properly supported by the developers and was unfairly forgotten. It continued to exist only thanks to the fan community, but over time, that community also faded away. It's a very sad story because this game deserved more. It's a highly underrated game. I think it's time to create a remaster on my own, but I need your support because without it, it would be a waste of time. So if you've seen this video, please share it with your friends and acquaintances. If we don't do anything, it won't make any sense. That's why I ask for your help in further developing this game with the strength of our community. But let's return to the technical side of the game. One of the interesting things I plan to add to the game is the presence of a sky. In the game, this idea was implemented, but in very limited locations. However, now in 2025, we can easily implement such features considering the power of our personal computers compared to those from 2005. The game supports emit maps, so it should work without significant drawbacks. But the game still has some technical issues. The shaders were developed back when DirectX 9 was standard, and nothing has changed since then. This means that if you want to fully implement all the shaders and most of the technologies, they simply won't work. I believe that to make them function as intended, you would need drivers and a system from 2005. These are critical conditions that we definitely won't be meeting. That's why I've integrated a modern API into the game, DirectX Vulkan. This made it possible to use cutting-edge shader technologies such as ray tracing, normal mapping, HDR, accurate and realistic shadows, blur, and much more. As a result, the game's graphics can be significantly improved, bringing them closer to modern standards. This is a great step forward in the development, but once again there are some difficulties, specifically the initial main menu level of the game. If I'm unable to modify it, it will most likely look something like this. The main menu level is quite a specific one. I would be very glad if someone in the comments is able to increase its resolution. In this level, certain textures cannot be upscaled or have their resolution changed. As far as I understand, this level includes some textures that are not applied to 3D models, which makes them impossible to upscale. It's very inconvenient. That's why I would truly appreciate any help with increasing the resolution of the game's initial menu level. I'd be glad if someone in the comments knows the right solutions to these issues. However, for now, the remaster development is progressing well, and some of the obstacles are not critical. So, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I'll continue showcasing the progress of the remaster's development.